Buenos días a todos y a todas. This time is in English, so since Italian and Spanish are very similar but not so similar, so this seminar will be in English. And I have the pleasure to introduce here Francesca Bretzel. She studied landscape planning in Versailles, which is one of the most emblematic sites for this type of studies. And then he got his before he got this degree in agricultural science in Pisa. And after this experience in Versailles, he came back to Pisa, working in a research institute on terrestrial ecosystem, which is one of the institutes of the Italian National Council for Research, which is closely related to CSIC, which is the same type of institution. And since 1996, she's working there, first as a temporary researcher, and since 2012 as a permanent researcher. She has a strong collaboration with the University of Pisa and Rome for the departments of agriculture, and she participated in European and national projects as cost actions and the same as the Plan Nacional here, the PNRR. And she's also on the scientific committees such as the one that you may know is the Soils of Urban Industrial Traffic and Military Areas. And every 2 years there is a congress organized by this SWITMA organization. The next one will be in Pisa. And we are all invited to to submit abstracts for this. So I let Francesca present the seminar, the role of soils in urban sites from ecosystem services to nature-based solution. And Francesca, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Marco. Thank you very much for inviting me for presenting my work. And I'm very pleased and honored to be here at CSIC. And I really appreciate the warm welcome and environment you have here. So, to start with, I just resume some of my activities, something Marco already mentioned, but they are all related to soil from point of view of the quality, the pollution of heavy metals, the management, the presence and the interactions with people as well, because city is a human environment, so we need to speak with people as well, and also we can copy nature to reproduce some solutions in the urban environment. And finally, the waste recycling is an important topic, especially for cities where we produce a lot of waste. So between my other activities, apart from the national plan of recovery, like the one you have in Spain, where I follow the activities of communication, education, and social impact in relation to biodiversity and society, I'm also member of the CITES, the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild and Fauna and Flora. And also recently I'm carrying out an activity as convener of a working group of the CEN, which is the standard organism at European level, and also the national level on NBS terminology. We are proposing and producing a standard on this topic. So soil provides a lot of ecosystem services. This comes from an important paper which I reported on the slide. But I'm sure you know all the services provided by soil. So it's just for a reminder. But in the case of urban soil, there are some issues because in the cities, soil are more challenging regarding the temperature, the pollution, the management of water, sealing, the growing of plants, and the production of food. So Just to resume some urban soil critical characteristics, we know that the parent material in urban soil often includes technogenic sediments. And also an important aspect is the heterogeneity of urban soils, which is vertical and horizontal. And this is due to the mixing and the presence of alien materials, and also to services that are very often under the soil. So all these aspects cause an absence of the soil profile. Compaction is often present in urban soil, and this is caused by the passage of the heavy machine that compacts soil, destroying organic matter, air and water pores. Sealing. Our cities are very covered by not permeable materials. So sealing prevents the fluxes of gases and water and energy, and also reduce the biodiversity under the soil, delete the capacity of water retention and groundwater recharge. Topsoil formation is influenced by the dust deposition, which very often is rich of pollutants, and also is subject to erosion and crusts due to the absence of organic matter, soil structure, and vegetation. So naked soils are critical. Other issues in urban environment is the pH, which is very often modified to alkalinity, and also the presence of contamination and alien materials. The nutrient cycles are often altered, as well as the temperature. So, what can be the practices to reduce these issues and to allow the urban soil to provide the ecosystem services? The sealing. The sealing is a practice that is carried out recently, not everywhere, but there are projects on this activity, which means to eliminate the impermeable layer on the top. So in this way, we reactivate the soil functionality. And from the studies carried out, this is quite rapid. It's not so long to rehabilitate. So reduce pollution, for example, promoting the alternative mobility to avoid the compaction practices. Generally, when there are some works, all the machines in urban areas, the machines are deposited on the soil, so that will be easy to avoid. Also make use and valorize the spontaneous vegetation, reduce the management interventions on the vegetation as well. So let the vegetation grow in a natural way, which is the best way they can find the equilibrium. Vegetate open unutilized spaces like the roofs, and in this way we can construct, we can provide green roofs and also container gardens in places where soil is not present. Finally, recycle the organic waste produced in cities to valorize the residual elements. So the question is, what can we do as citizens, as urban areas for nature in cities? I wrote this book for Springer with other colleagues, which is titled Urban Services to Ecosystems. So in a different perspective, what the city can do for ecosystems. And me with my colleagues produce a chapter on soil and substrate quality as an opportunity for urban greening. So, changing the perspective, urban unfertile soils can become a resource, and because these soils can be seen as a problem, as the ornamental vegetation needed in cities require fertile soil, rich in organic matter, and also good management, good management made by knowledgeable people. And these are two aspects that often are lacking. So to change the perspective, I try to see the poor soil as a resource, as on those poor soils often there is rich vegetation that develops, and this is something that is codified by an article by Jeremy London, the plant ecologist, which invented, let's say, the term habitat template in 2010. So looking for templates for models to reproduce in cities nature. This is a wonderful environment. In fact, is reported in the book by Bob Gibson on the 50 best wildflower sites in the world, and this in Puglia, in the south of Italy, in Gargano. And on this calcareous, very drained soil, more than 80 species of orchids grow, including endemism as well, and also beautiful irises, for example. This site is very from outside managed with ancient technique of agriculture, so the animals are free to feed where they want, and this kind of agriculture. And on the other side, it is very frequented by tourists which look for botanical interest. So, as you see in the picture, they have cameras ready for macro photography, and they look for the plants to photograph. So, other sites where biodiverse vegetation, herbaceous vegetation grows. These are olive groves near Pisa, in the Monte Pisano, and they are managed in an extensive way. So they are basically not fertilized, not irrigated, and the herbaceous vegetation is cut once or twice a year. So in this way, we have very beautiful flowering of geophytes and other forbs, and we have a good population of insects. And sagittals, which are species that follows the agriculture and the human species since millennials. This is Castelluccio near Norcia, in the heart of Italy, and it's the cultivation of lentils and cereal, again in an extensive way. So we have this wonderful display of colors, which is another touristic attraction as well. So rural landscape rich of flowering disappeared after the intensive agriculture, and conventional systems promoted the spreading of anemophilous species. On this topic, I carried out trials with a colleague to see which is the appropriate management for the long-term sustainability of so-called wildflowers in agriculture, extensive agriculture. Here, it's a study I carried out with my colleagues between Florence, Pisa, Lucca, and Pistoia. It's a humid area, protected area by the European Convention. And we compared two sites, one which was mowed every year for making hay for horses, and the other was abandoned because this kind of activity is not very common anymore. So produce hay is not very common. So we compared the mowed with not mowed, and we compared from the soil point of view and the vegetation as well. And we found out that in the not mowed, carbon, nitrogen, and litter were higher, and also the pH had a shift to neutrality, while in the mowed field it was subacid. And in the vegetation, there was a shift to woody and perennial species compared to the other part of the grassland, which was richer in annuals and in more species as well. So to go back to cities, we carried out trials to see what was the effect of management on herbaceous vegetation, and we compared two times of mowing the herbaceous vegetation, October and June and July. And also we did trials using compost to make, oops. Sorry. To make the soil more loose and more drained. And we found out that the best period for cutting was July, and this comes very well for the management of these species that in Mediterranean areas are very dry in summer, so along roads can be risk for fires. And we saw also that adding compost to the soil, the flowering was lower as intensity, but longer as duration. So this is this report, a study made in Poland, and the scientists found out that urban meadows are very useful in accumulating PM, particulate matter, and they compare different vegetations made with annual, perennials, or just the lawn as a control, and they found that the meadows accumulate PM more effectively than traditional lawns. So, just a moment, please. So this is another project that I followed regarding extensive green roofs. So we put up a trial that now carries on from 2014. So now we can consider it a long-term trial. And the extensive green roofs, which are NBS, the same as intensive green roofs or biosolar roofs or biodiverse roofs. In this case, we adopted this kind of very shallow roofs. In fact, the soil is not deeper than 15 centimeters, and normally they have a substrate composed of tephra, so it's a substrate made of volcanic material with a limited percentage of organic matter, because organic matter in substrate of extensive green roofs can be a problem, as it can become heavy when it's humid, and also it tends to consume, so they reduce its mass. So extensive green roofs from outside are very well studied, because there is a great business in some countries, as Germany, for example, and Switzerland. But if the aspects, the technological aspects related to substrate layers, insulation of the buildings are well studied, biodiversity and the opportunity of create habitat on those roofs is less investigated. So but on the other side, these places are undisturbed normally, so they can become a useful habitat for increasing biodiversity. And what I thought is to find other species to vegetate those environment, and to find substrate utilizing some recycled material, and trying to find what happens if we don't put any maintenance. So what I found as a material is the paper sludge, especially the one coming from the inking paper, because near where I live and work, there are many factories producing the inked paper sludge. Actually, at the moment, the majority of paper globally comes from recycling. So anyway, you can imagine that the waste produced from this industry is very, very high. And at the moment, there are not many possible uses. It has been used as a component of materials for buildings, but in this way it is mixed with plastic, for example, and so you have something that you cannot recycle anymore. While if we mix it with in a soil, of course, studying the characteristics and trying to do the best job possible, the material is going to degrade in soil. Anyway, what I did, we mixed volcanic material, Volcaflor, with compost coming from municipal waste, and we pelletized the inking sludge just to be more manageable and to last longer. And we made a trial on the roof with these three experimental substrate composed as it reports on the left. We also use native Mediterranean plants, herbaceous plants, trying to find the ones growing already in consociations and adapted to arid conditions. So we found out that the limited fertility in the substrate enhanced the species richness and the functionality in extensive green roofs. You see the bar on the right is the correspond to the substrate that contained in a 30%, about 30% of the three different materials. So not the poorest one, because the inking sludge is very, very poor in nitrogen. So this is a real limit for growing plants. But half the inking sludge and half of compost was able to reduce the biomass, especially of crassulacean, which in the substrate composed only of compost and volcanic material was the dominant functional species. So we had a good equilibrium. As well, another very interesting aspect that I could find in this trial is that the Therophytes, means the annual species, could successfully spend the very hard time, which is summer, under the soil in form of seeds, and then restart with the first rains of autumn. So as we are in Mediterranean climate, the difficult time is not winter but is summer, and in this way we could make sure that we have a plant cover at least from autumn to spring. Actually, I noticed that in the recent summers, sedum was not capable to survive, which is weird, but because normally sedums can survive summer, but the species I had on my roof, they died. So this is very important to keep in mind. And another trial I carried out with this sludge is as a component of nursery substrate, and we found that in mixing with compost, this substrate was better than the substrate that nurseries use normally. So it can be a good alternative, but it is important to add organic matter. This is another topic of my research. It's about finding biodiversity to add to a Bermuda grass lawn. Bermuda grass is a warm grass species, such as zoysia or paspalum. They are very good in Mediterranean areas because they don't need a lot of irrigation, and they also can accept salty water to be irrigated, so they are good near the coast, etc. But they have an issue, which is that in winter they are brown, they go in dormancy. So in America, for example, they paint the lawns with a painting to make them green in winter. What we tried is to add geophytes and forbs with a flowering from autumn to spring, and we had quite a good effect. Also with insects coming to visit our flowers. So this is the phenological complementarity. You see that the lawn is mowed from May to October, and in the period where when the lawn is not touched, we have the flowering of the other species. And they are also able to naturalize in those lawns. So in cities, in city lawns, there is more than meets the eye. When you cut a lawn, you see something that people call a green desert. But as soon as the mowing stops, a lot of species comes out, because in the seed bank there is a real great richness. So in the area of CNR in Pisa, I was able to convince or to oblige, asking many times not to cut some of the pieces where I saw that there was a predominance of Dicotyledonus, so annual perennial forbs and geophytes. And this is a very difficult activity because people don't accept novelties. So not all people, of course, but you know that I am in a scientific area of research, so you should think that people should have an open mind, but that is not taken for granted. So another topic of my work is about urban agriculture. And this is a project that was funded by the region Toscana. And it was about the allotments in Pisa that are managed by old people. It's the let's say the allotment for elderly. It's not just for them, but in the regulation, the age is a priority criteria for giving the space. So we carried out analysis of soil and in parallel activities with people, such as we organized the school of the gardens, and we made some moment of exchange on organic agriculture, the importance of soil, the reproduction, the self-reproduction of the vegetables and so on. And we carried out a questionnaire to try to understand what was the management for those people, the management they were carrying out in their garden. So we found out some issues because the managing is very heterogeneous because those people don't have any preparation, any education from the council or from the self. They just go to the shop, buy things and use them. And I think that will be very useful to start initiatives to raise awareness in those citizens. And also, as the allotments are very protected from any source of pollution, because they are near the river and in a peripheral neighborhood, they are not the soils are basically not polluted. The only pollution I found was the one coming from the management by the gardeners, because some of them exceeded with the use of copper. Which normally doesn't even move a lot in soil, in alkaline soil as the one we have, but they can interact with the microbiological part of the soil and so create nutritional problems. On urban allotments as well, we carried out a comparison between two areas. One on the right is the one you saw before, where I interviewed the gardeners, and the other one is a new area where the council decided to make new allotments. However, this was, I think, in 2008, and nothing happened till now, so probably they won't come at all. But anyway, it was useful for us for comparing the properties of those soils. And we found out something interesting, for example, that in the left part of left photograph, there is a very, very high heterogeneity of the soil because probably there was a dumping in the past years. So we found different soils in the same area in terms of texture, organic matter, presence of metals. And what we thought is that if one day they will really build allotment there, the plots will be very different. So this is a problem because gardeners tend to copy one other, and if the properties of soil are so different, they will not understand why they are having different results in terms of production. So probably they will put a lot of fertilizer, and this is not very good. However, these are school projects, just to tell you that I'm trying to follow this aspect as well. So going to NBS and the work I'm doing now with the standardization. This is the definition that the United Nations Environment Assembly put out in 2022. So NBS are actions to protect, conserve, restore, sustainably use and manage natural or modified terrestrial, freshwater, coastal and marine ecosystems, which address social, economic, and environmental challenges effectively and adaptively, while simultaneously providing human well-being, ecosystem services, resilience, biodiversity benefits, based on surveys addressed to stakeholders for the adoption of a correct approach to the relationship, needs, and process. So, as you see, it's a very complex umbrella concept. And to implement an NBS is not easy if you want to take in account all these aspects. So what we notice is that there was standard lack in this field because it's a topic that it is funded by European Commission, and many projects came out, so many case studies, but no standards. So it is important to have shared definition and to share them as much as possible. And we put on commission inside the UNI, which is the National Commission in Italy, and UNE, which is the one of Spain. We presented a proposal of standard to the European Commission, the Technical Commission, Sustainable Cities and Communities. And the first step for a standard is the terminology. So now we are facing the aspect of terminology. This is a survey that Tecnalia in Spain carried out to many academia, local authorities, people, and private sector, and these are the terms that came out from this survey. So this is the classification proposed for NBS. So challenges, intervention approach, and scale. And to go to the conclusions, as I said, I try to talk about a change of perspective and to see as soil in urban areas as a resource, which is definitely is, and but also plan and manage to enhance the capacity to give all the ecosystem services I mentioned. So mitigate temperature, pollution, store carbon and nutrients, host biodiversity, improve the hydrology in cities. In a nutshell, based solution approach, it is very important to recycle the material, so to close the cycle inside the city, and this is something important to see. And finally, the involvement of citizens is very important to raise awareness about the issues and how to face them in a proactive way. So I just remind you about the conference I'm organizing now, which is in October in Pisa from the 5th to the 9th. And the abstract submission opens on 1st March, so I'm already very scared, but let's send as much as abstract you can for the success of the conference. And very thanks for inviting me to speak here.
Hello, Francesca, for this wonderful presentation. A lot of nice pictures from protected environment to your workplace, which is typical of urban areas. A part of many common things that we are trying to do here in Madrid, similar to what you are studying there in Italy, there is something which is really tricky to understand, because if you go ask people about biodiversity, say, would you like more biodiversity in your cities? I think that 80–90% of people will say, yes, of course. And what's biodiversity in cities? It's not mowing the grasses, and so you don't have this nice flat green desert. So one of the things is happening here in Madrid is say, yeah, okay, you are not mowing anymore the small places and stuff, but this is full of cockroaches and rats and whatever. That's also part of biodiversity. And at some point, we have to change the mind of people, because what you said, there is a way to try to select species which are not causing more problems to us, improving also the greening, the natural how is the rewilding of the vegetation in cities. So I think that there is also a lot of social and psychological effort to do on people to try and understand biodiversity is not having, I don't know, gorillas in cities, but this is something that we have to understand. I don't know if there are some questions in the public. It's a pity that people, Juan Diego is not here, because he would have loved the presentation. Probably is online. He's a PhD student working on flowering and pollinization, and so he's helping Nazareth with the rewilding of our green spots. Any question?
Thank you. Yes.
Ruben Badenes is a researcher here, and
so I was wondering, because you showed at the beginning that the pH, when you have the soils, the urban soils tend to be lower alkaline. But I was wondering, because of the acid rain, because of the pollution, wouldn't it be more acid?
In cities?
In cities.
Generally, it's considered that in cities pH is alkaline because of the rubble or the material from buildings. Bricks and those materials are alkaline. But as I said before, the heterogeneity in city is very high. So probably you can find site per site. Actually, when you analyze in city, the sampling is not like when you do sampling in agricultural sites where you make a bulk. In cities, you need to do sampling, sampling and analyze, because it changes very much.
When we did the sampling in the escombreras. That's the Madrid City Council is offering for urban agricultural projects. You can see that when you see something going like this, you have to sample there because probably somebody left
dumping,
something 50 years ago, and that was probably not allowed 50 years ago and not anymore right now. So there's a lot of heterogeneity, and you miss the control on the soils. But yeah, normally what we found also in Madrid are pH up to 10. Some parts of the allotments we have measured, not revegetated yet. You have a very, very high pH due to the residues that people left there. And with a pH of 9, 10, plants are struggling to grow. So that's why you need organic matter to try to buffer this.
Yeah. But something I wanted to add to what you said before is that now I'm following a group of doctors that studies allergies in cities. And for this problem, we need really to rethink the lawns in cities because Poace, for example, make a lot of allergies and also all the Animophilus herbaceous plants, while entomogamous plants rarely make allergies unless you touch them, but the flu or the respiratory allergies are caused by those
this is
graminaceae.
One of the problems here with the trees in Madrid, because the ones that are more growing faster, making a lot of shadow, and are the ones
allergenic. Yeah.
So they are trying to say, no more trees. We cut everything. This is
no, I have seen that pollen can travel 30 kilometers. So, but if you need to do new plantings or new settings, you need to think about this aspect.
Don't be shy. More questions? Melina.
No.
Melina.
Oh, thank you very much for your presentations. I have a question on the paper mill. Was it easy to find the companies that want to collaborate to give the materials, or if it's or maybe no, this.
Yeah.
And then also on the reuse of paper mill, what about the contaminants? Because I think, for example, if they use impermeabilizers, maybe there could be, for example, PFAS or substances that are very hot topics now, and maybe the reuse of them can be more complicated or difficult to follow.
Yeah, thank you for your question. You are right, because it's not taken for granted that the companies collaborate. In my case, it's gone like this. Means that they weren't very interested at the beginning, so they just said, okay, just do it. No, we don't care. Then they raised a great interest, and then it's over because of course, because industries have other interest compared to us. So sometimes it's difficult to have the same aim. But however, this factory I contacted was one of the best how to say, for sustainability. So they wanted to be more sustainable in a phase. So they were very interested. The pollutants. I also carried out a study with during my short term in Canada when I collaborate with, because they have deep knowledge about all the material coming from forest and the products from wood and paper, etc. So we compared two different kind of sludge coming from the paper industry, and the sludge made in Lugar, that's the name of the Italian factory, was good because they use a process for the inking, which is mechanical. So they don't use whitening products, basically. The problem of PFAS and other new pollutants is that not always they are required in the standards. So I don't think this pollutant was in the list. They are obliged to do the screening of a pool of pollutants, and all the pollutants they analyzed in that sludge all the values were lower, so it was okay from my point of view. But I don't know about new pollutants, and I mean, you should think of the use you make of a waste. However, so of course you cannot use it for making container for food, for example, because in case of new pollutants, that will be dangerous. But
About PFAS, there is a polyfluorinated compounds. There is a new legislation coming, at least in Spain. The point is that I don't know if there are 58 compounds from the same family, and of course you are not going to screen every time 58 compounds. So they are trying to reduce to at least the most representative or significant in terms of quantities. But this Dennis is the expert. The other director of Medina PhD is now working on the dynamics of fluorinated. But it's a challenge because they are extremely fast dissolving in the water, going very fast to the underwater basins, and so when you have a spot of fluorinated stuff, it's going everywhere.
yeah.
Google.
Thank you for your presentation. It was really interesting.
you.
I would like to know about that person that was cultivating in the allotment. What was the situation like? He has like some help from the city council, or that play, or he just started to produce his own vegetables, or what was the situation? And also, if that place was like in a legal way, a place to grow, or just he started to, the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your question. Yes, it is the only allotment area set up by the Council of Pisa. There's no other. It's a small city, but we could have others. We have some illegal, which is normal because there's a lot of people in cities. So if they have a need, and there are many brownfields or soils abandoned and not managed, so it's a grassroots initiatives to put up some allotments. But councils should really take care of these areas. I tried to involve them in making more activities with people, and for example, making a common compost pile, and that was impossible. Making a common collection of waste, making a toilet, because if you have elderly people, they need toilet, women and men, but it's something as to ask for, I don't know, something impossible. Anyway, I know that the cities probably look after better the areas of allotments, I hope.
Here in Madrid, the council is trying to help or organize the gardens. That the gardens were found before the city council started to put regulations. So some of them were moved from one area to another because that area was not suitable for many reasons. So they are trying to at least take a control. But for example, now there are 40. Hugo, how many urban gardens are in Madrid? More than 40, 45 or something like that. But then every school managed by the community, they have the small
Allotment.
allotments, and so everything is controlled by the city council. So every year they are supposed to analyze 400 allotments between retirement centers or schools and whatever. So when they call us, oh, we have 400 samples. No, please, don't come here, because it's they have a municipality laboratory for doing that, but they don't have the expertise because it's a medical laboratory. So it's different to analyze medical samples from soil samples. So
Better
sometimes
not to mix.
sometimes some urban garden called me or Miguel and say, "Oh, could you do please a side analysis?" And sometimes we say yes when there is a. We went to sample one or two gardens, also to explain. Say, no worries. If they tell you that it's okay, it should be more or less okay. No worries about that. But as you said, I'm doing the same as my neighbor, but he has bigger tomatoes than me. Yeah, because the soil is not the same, so it's complex to interact with people, and we should do the effort. Sometimes we are very few people working on it, and as you say, this is a very hot topic right now. Everybody is talking about green cities and blah blah. And then when you measure the efforts that you have to put to make everything work, it's enormous. Giuseppe, you're not going to say anything.
Giuseppe is concentrated.
Yeah.
Francesca, thank you for being here. I wanted to just to make a comment on these regreening urban areas, because as you said, we need to wildflowers or wild species to let them be. And there was something that I noticed while I was in Nantes with Medina, that there they didn't cut wildflowers, even if it was summer, but summer in the north of France is not similar with us a Mediterranean condition. But they have this culture of doing that. So it means that these things can be done, and there is an hope. And I was really I really liked the presentation, because when I came back from Spain to Italy, one of the first things that they told me was, forget urban agriculture and green roof. I was like, okay. And then I see that there is still hope in Italy, and there are people that are doing that so great.
Thank you.
Regarding the differences in from north and south of Europe, this is always the same. People say, okay, we have to take soils from 1 meter, and we sometimes in Spain it's impossible. In summer, it's very hard. The same as vegetation. Vegetation in summer in north of France is kind of nice and green, and in the Mediterranean region sometimes it's not so green, not so nice to see. But there is still value behind these species, especially if we let the species do their things and try to colonize and interact and so on. So there is we are always looking at others trying to do the green loan and it's not our business, so we cannot. So if there are no more questions, I think that we can say thanks to Francesca one more time.
Thank you.
And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.